So they kept his heart. Instead of giving his full body to his family, they kept his heart back. So his family buried him thinking that he's intact, and then they later find out that his heart is not in his body. And then to make it even worse, later on down the line, they find out that it's not even his body that they buried. It's another woman that had died and hadn't been claimed that was buried in his place. And then now... So I'm thinking of doing a series on death in police custody. This is a topic that's I think I first became aware of like racial injustice. Oh, it was my entry point into like racial injustice. I think I was in like year 9, so I was probably about 13, maybe 12, 13, or yeah, around about them ages. And I remember seeing this case. I think it was I don't remember what it was about, but it obviously was a few years after this thing happened. It was like 10 or so years after this thing happened. And I remember just watching the documentary about Christopher Alder and how he basically was out, I think in his town centre where he lives. He was on a night out, and then he got into a fight with his friend, and then police came, but because he had a head injury. And then, so obviously they took him away. I don't know if they took him away as they arrested him, but had to take him to hospital. But basically, they took him to police, to hospital. And when he got to the hospital, obviously because he had a head injury, he was behaving sort of like erratically, and his behavior sort of like got him, I don't know, got him maybe kicked out of the hospital, or they refused to treat him because it was being challenging to deal with at the hospital. And then police took him from, I think, from the hospital to the police station, which wasn't a long drive. But when they left the hospital, he was walking fine, he was talking fine. Then the drive is not meant to have taken more than 10-15 minutes, but I think they were saying that it ended up taking 30 minutes. And within that time, when they got to the police station, he now couldn't walk for himself. His trousers were all the way down by his knees, his bum was out. And they had to drag him out of the van like that. And then when they got him in, they just like threw him on the custody floor, and then they went to sit on their desks and they were doing whatever. And he was breathing sort of like heavy, as if someone's struggling for breath. And then they just left him on the floor, and the police were making monkey noises, laughing at him, just saying he's making it up, he's not unwell, he's just pretending. And then I think as it went on, he sort of like it got really difficult for him to breathe, because I think he was in the prone position, like facing down. And then I think he ended up, I'm not sure if he went unconscious. That's when they started obviously panicking, or he was already dead when they started panicking. And then later when they were reviewing CCTV, they found that, or when they did, he ended up dying. So when they obviously when they were talking about this case, they were saying that from the time he was in the van, he had already done a number 2 on himself. How did his trousers come to be on his knees when you can see him on the CCTV? Even the nurse at the hospital testified that when he left, he was walking fine, he was wearing his trousers properly. And then also when they found his body, now after he'd been in the police station, they found that some teeth were missing. Obviously there was a bit about them laughing and making monkey noises at him and saying that he's faking it. So obviously that case was opened for that. And then also after he died and they did the post-mortem, it took a while, and then they released his body to his family. I think later on the family found out that when they released his body back, because his heart was so big, I don't know if it's the mortuary or whoever did the post-mortem on him, so they kept his heart. Instead of giving his full body to his family, they kept his heart back. So his family buried him thinking that he's intact, and then they later find out that his heart is not in his body. And then to make it even worse, later on down the line, they find out that it's not even his body that they buried. It's another woman that had died and hadn't been claimed that was buried in his place. And then now his family finds out that he's it's still in the morgue. I think it's like the infirmary morgue, and he's being used for like mortuary studies or whatever, forensic studies that they do, and his body's still being used. So it's like, how many times is the system gonna victimize you? First they kill your loved one, and then they don't give you his heart to bury, and then they keep his body and they let you bury someone else. So now it's like you have to dig him up and rebury him again. I want to cover those kind of cases. Obviously, death in police custody can involve someone that dies while they've been arrested or while they're coming into contact with the police, or can involve a lot of things. So there's a lot of cases that I'm interested in that I've obviously read about that I can cover. Some might be people like Mark Duggan, or some might be prisoners that die in jail, or cases like Christopher Alder, and any other cases that you want to hear about. So yeah, let me know below if that would be something that you want to see. That's something that I'm really passionate about. I tend to, if I find out about these stories, or if something comes up that I didn't know about, I tend to just obsess over it and just want to read and find out and know a lot about what's going on. And I think it will be something interesting to talk about as well. Let me know if that's something that you want to see, or if you've got any cases that you're really particularly interested about. And if you want me, I can also expand on this Christopher Alder one, because I think it's like it's got so many twists and turns, and obviously how the police handled it, and up to now I don't think there's been any justice, which I think in a lot of cases is the case, that families never get justice. Like we've seen obviously with the Derek Chauvin George Floyd case. The police can obviously come in and have their defense where it's clear that someone used deadly force, but they can explain it away, like how we saw that I think it was a forensic pathologist or whatever it was. No, it was a police use of force expert saying that, or if someone's got supernatural powers and they've got superhuman strength, then the force that he was using was justified. And it's like, what? But these are cases that the jury can really believe that these kind of narratives from the defense of the police and acquit them. And for me, it's just like it's just an injustice for the families, because it's quite clear the police need to be held accountable, because just as much as they're there to protect us, the law shouldn't be there to protect them if they overstep their mark. Yeah, so let me know.